to get rid of my dog, put him out. He's spoiled. Um, One of the things I wanted to talk about in this session is your spouse, your partner. And when a child dies by suicide, the first thing that you do is you blame yourself. You're their parents. You think you have this complete control over how your children lives for the rest of their lives. Parenting, as we all know, goes beyond feeding a kid, changing the diapers. You speak to them about stranger danger. You speak to them about the, you know, the drugs, how bad drugs are. You check their grades. You guide them in college. You guide them to where their life should be. You praise them for a job well done. You play with them. You push them on a swing. You mourn with them when they're brokenhearted. And when they are brokenhearted, because they're crying, you struggle to fix it. Because that's how parents are. When your child dies by suicide, your mind takes full responsibility for it and tries to figure out what you did wrong. What we forget is they are people with their own minds, their own thoughts, their own wills. Sometimes we didn't do anything wrong. So now we figured maybe it wasn't us. Maybe it was our partner. It's very easy to put the blame on other people. So we start thinking of all the past wrongs that our partners done to us or their children, your children, or your child. And we start holding them accountable for these things. We forget that they just lost a child. We forget that they are grieving along with us. We forget that they're going through the same process as you are. We forget all the beautiful things that they did for their child. It is part of the grieving process. The statistics for divorce during, when a child dies, whether it be by suicide or something else, is really, really high. My husband and I have been married for 31 years. He is a little bit older than I am. He started getting forgetful before Ian passed away. From what one of his doctors explained to me, the trauma caused dementia that he was already slowly getting to speed up quite a bit. I was given a choice of his dementia or his happiness. Something about the medicine, I chose his happiness. I chose to stop being angry at my husband because he didn't do nothing wrong but love our child. That child and him, Ian, they were so close. He was really traumatized. You cannot get over the grief without your partner, because that partner created that child with you, loved that child with you. It's not their fault. It's not. It's not your fault. It's not. And if you want to soften that pain that you feel all day, you want to soften that sense of loss all day you feel, you need to connect. Regardless of whether you're divorced or not, y'all need to be friends. or find a way. It's not their fault. They're grieving too. They're in just as much agony as you are, and they're blaming themselves probably more than you're blaming them. So be considerate. Um, don't be a bitter old bag and a nasty individual, because that does not bring your child back. All it does is make you hateful. Hateful causes high blood pressure. It causes those that you love that want to be there for you to leave. Isolating yourself is not the way to go. Stop. I had to. I realized, because I am in my head a lot, that I was punishing my husband for what my son did. A whole hot 2 seconds. As soon as I realized it, I apologized to him. That's another thing. You need to speak your feelings to the people around you. Speak your feelings. Get it out and in the open. I predominantly raised my children. My husband has an issue with, he's addicted to working. He's a workaholic. It's pretty bad though. He goes to work he's there at 7 a.m. and he don't leave until they pretty much push him out the door. He works so hard that he's exhausted. Comes home, eats, and goes right to sleep. I raised my 3 boys pretty much by myself. My husband was a huge help, though. He has this affinity. He loves to wash dishes. He loves to cook. I taught him how to cook, and he became a better cook than me. He loved my children. He loved my boys. He never raised his voice to them, whereas I was the disciplinary. My oldest son is 6'8", and he's an adult, 31. If he sees me give this weird, I don't know the look, it's the mom look, he'll turn around and run away from me. He's an adult, but their dad had a different relationship with him, and that is just what it was. So I started thinking maybe if he was more of the disciplinarian, or maybe if he would have been more involved in their lives, chicken and fishing more. No, stop. It's silly. It's a waste of energy. It's wrong. So, basically what I'm trying to tell you is the wrong road to travel is the road to blame. No one's to blame for what happened to your child, because ultimately in the last moment, they did it to themselves. And that's a hard pill to swallow. Your child's not perfect. They're human, just like you. There ain't not one person on this earth that's perfect. I don't care who your child is or who you are. And if you think your child's perfect, then you're just deceiving yourself, lying to yourself. And boy, people are like, she's one of those. My child was not perfect, but my child was a good kid. And irregardless of whether he was good or not, or whether he was loving or not, or whether he did, well, he sped too much. He got caught a lot. He had a motorcycle. He was trying to run from his problems. He was going to go to jail for 3 years because he drove too fast too many times and got caught. I didn't know about this until after he passed away. I promise you I did not know. He didn't tell me. He was 25. He didn't even live with me. But I was like, Ian, thinking to myself, I could have held your hand. So what? So what? If you had these, we could have fixed what was wrong so it didn't repeat. You man up with your issues. We could have gotten through this. But he chose a different way. So what I'm telling you is that we're all human, with human emotions, with human problems. Um, and if you think your child was a coward for committing suicide, or if you're embarrassed to tell people your child committed suicide, you're wrong. Cowards would never commit suicide because then they would get a boo-boo. It takes strength to end your life. They're just not strong in other ways. So don't hide your child. He committed suicide. She committed suicide. But you know what? She was a damn good person. He was a wonderful human being. Uh, it would snow. He'd steal my Jeep. He'd fill a thermos with cocoa. He'd throw a shovel and some salt back there. He'd travel around in the four-wheel on, use all my gas, find someone stuck on the road. He'd put him in my Jeep where it's nice and warm, offer them a cup of cocoa, and he would get that car unstuck because that's the kind of kid he was. He also abused pills. He tried to hide his pain. He swore a lot. Every third word was the F-bomb. Couldn't hold his liquor. I used to tell him, if you're drinking, because we would have gatherings, they are adults. You're not throwing up in my house. You better crawl back in the backyard. Which, funny story, after he passed away, the last person, it was in February, the last person in the backyard was Ian, thrown up because he couldn't hold his liquor. I found 3/4. They looked so brand new. I knew they were from his pocket. I still have those 3/4. So, there is no blame in suicide. There is no responsibility in suicide. They made the decision, and they did it. Kids nowadays think that there's a reset button. Their suicide rate is going up. In my son's age bracket, the number 4 killer of young men is suicide. We let our children play too many video games. We don't talk to them about the fact that that's not real life. Those video games, I believe, desensitize children when it comes to death. They don't get any socialization while playing video games. Not really. We need to limit our kids on their computer use. There's good things about the computers, and there's bad things. We need to sit down at the dinner table and communicate with our children. Put our phones away in the bread bin. We need to see the world for what it is, not through the eyes of a cell phone or a iPad. Or else this is going to get worse. These children are alone and lonely. And it's our fault as humanity's fault. We have so many issues, have so many problems, and it's so easy to sit on YouTube or TikTok or Facebook and ignore the problems. I did that with reading books. I hurt so much. I was in so much pain all the time. And I had a lot of seizures. They weren't under control. So I was in my bed a lot because I was afraid to get up and have a seizure and get injured. I read to see the outside world and to escape. We all are guilty of it. We all do it. I think if we Um, Stop doing that so much and remember that we brought these children in the world. They didn't ask to be born, and start interacting more with them. Whatever happened to Monopoly game night or checkers? Ian loved chess. Him and his brothers. We played chess a lot. We had movie night with popcorn. We'd actually drag a mattress into the living room and have a movie night. Um, we camped in my backyard. We just set up the tent and just go camping. People need to do that more. They need to connect more with their children. Their children need to know that if they come to you, that they have your full, wholehearted attention. That you come before your cell phone. So many times. How many of you have tried to caught a kid climbing out of a grocery cart while mom's on the cell phone texting, or dad? Don't want to blame it on moms. I personally, twice, 2 times. Moms weren't even near the cart, or dad. Shocking. Shocking how dissected we are from each other because of technology. Well, anyhow, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to sum this up real quick. Don't blame. No blaming. No blaming yourself. No blaming the people around you, your spouses. In my son's case, there is a partial blame. A group of girls stalked him, and we'll talk about that later. I do believe it helped push him, especially when they sat on Instagram talking about him and saying, I wish he'd just kill himself. Now, I'm not talking about 1 or 2. I'm talking about like 5. He saw it, and he put a thing in his phone, I wish I was good enough. So they really had a lot to do with his mental state. But you as a parent, don't blame yourself, because you're not going to heal. That's another thing you need to acknowledge, is you're never going to get over it. You're never going to get over it. You need to learn to live with it. It can be done, because guess what? You have other people that love you, that need you here. So you have to fight. You have to. You also have to fight for the child that died. He sees, she sees. She knows she's screwed up. He knows he's screwed up. They see your sadness. They need to heal in heaven, but they can't do that if you don't heal yourself, if they don't see that you're okay. It's important. It's very important. So have a good day.